Hello everyone, welcome to Downtown Tailoring. In today's video, I'm gonna show you how to make a very easy strapless bra. It's a kind of combination of bra, bralette, and bandeau. So let's go! If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe. Hello to this material. Do you remember it? This is the same one you used to make panties. So let's do a matching set. And to be completely honest, this is not ideal for bra because it's a very soft bamboo. A little bit stronger knit as this one works better. But if we construct it well, it will be okay. We are gonna need as well microfiber foam. And these are my patterns. You know that a good tailor is like a plastic surgeon. We have to understand the muscles, the shapes, everything, so we can make the patterns properly. Even if you are not going to make a strapless bra, this is very important to know because as tailors, we need to understand how garments are created. Do you take time looking at garments and how they are cut and sewn? I do that all the time. Check the description box below for free printable patterns. I have them available in a few different sizes. You take into account your cup and your under bust measurement. So basically we have 2 pieces for the front, 1 piece for the back, and 2 pieces for the cups. I'm gonna take my material and I'm gonna fold it for cutting. I'm gonna place first the center front piece, which has to be cutted folded in the center. These patterns don't have any seam allowance as they will vary depending on the finish we want to make. So just keep that in mind, cut it with the seam allowance. The back piece as well needs to be cut folded, and if you prefer to use the bra hooks, then you have to reduce the size of that piece and cut it twice instead. Now I have all my pieces cut and let me show you very well the pattern. So I've signaled the top, the bottom, the side back, the center back. And to not get confused, I'm making a small notch so I can recognize everything. So again, I have top, bottom, center, front, and the notch at the top. And the same with the other, top, bottom, side, and notch. This is very important because it can be really confusing to manage those patterns. And these are the patterns for the cup and exactly the same, top, bottom, sides, center, and the notch in the center front. Now I'm gonna cut my cups, and if you get those wrinkles in the material, don't worry about it. You just need to iron this again and you will be okay. These foams are a little bit thick to pin it, so I'm just tracing the cup, and as you can see, I'm just leaving seam allowance in the center side seam and not in the side seam. I don't need seam allowance there. Now everything is cut. These are all the pieces I needed, and this is when you do it the simple way in just one layer, but very often you will want it to make it line. So in that case, you will have to cut an extra layer of the 2 front pieces. In this case, I even break the back piece just for fun. But you really don't need to do it. But today we are going to work in one layer, which is a little bit easier. Now I'm going to my sewing machine and I want to stress the need to have the patterns well recognized so you don't flip it when you are sewing them. You can use tracing papers to make your patterns or something very transparent so you can put the patterns on top and you can easily recognize which piece you are working with. That will be totally helpful. Now that I know which piece is which, I'm going to pin the 2 center front of the cups together. So because I'm working one side, I pin it, and then I'm going to pin it the other side, the other 2 pieces. And that way I know that they are now symmetrical. Before I sew it, I'm going to serge the edges And today I'm gonna use a red thread just to be in the same mood that we were when we did the panties. I'm gonna use this woolly nylon thread, which is so comfortable and nice to the touch. And just to make the things a little bit more spicy, I'm gonna set my machine in a more decorative finish by reducing the differential fit and the length of the stitch. And remember, each time that you are changing the thread or settings of your machine, you have to try on in a piece of material, just to know that you are doing your things right. I'm gonna search my 4 pieces, and look at that, they look amazing. And then I'm gonna go to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew in the center seam, making sure that the notches are in the same place. And this is the way they look. They look pretty much very rounded and nice. And now I'm gonna work with the center pieces. Remember that the center piece is cut folded in the center, and I'm just confirming here that these pieces are all good in the right position, and I'm going to proceed to sew. Another important thing is join together notch with notch before I'm sewing my pieces. I'm using the straighter stitch, as anyways I'm going to use the cup in this place, so I don't need too much of the stretchiness at this time in this point. This is what I have until now, and now I'm gonna join together the cups with my front bra piece. And remember that the smaller piece goes to the center. I'm gonna join the 2 seam allowance, and I'm gonna start by pinning from the notch I already did. That way I make sure that my apex are all together. And then I'm gonna pin all the way around before I go and sewing. But because of this material, I think it's very important to iron these seams open a little bit easier. So I'm going to my sewing machine now to do that job. And if you want, it can be a good idea to use the zipper foot to sew that instead of the regular one. While you are sewing, make sure that the center seams are very well aligned so your job will look a little bit nicer. You can do the same with the other seam allowance too. When you finish, you will notice that anyways, knit eye shows is so thin, but you can do 2 ways to solve that problem. The first one is to top stitch around 1/4 inch beside each side of the seam, and then cut the excess of seam allowance. That will really help a lot, but sometimes it might leave like a mark that in your clothes that are not so desirable. When I was working in the pattern, I was trying to make sure to do this the easiest way. I've been thinking about it for a long time, but because now I needed a good pattern for myself, I developed this one. Another way that you can do is after you do your first seam, you can do the top stitch just on top of the seam allowance and the cups, and leave the material on top alone, and that way you will achieve a much nicer finish. It's a little bit trickier, but I think it's worth it to try it. And you know that I'm iron dependent, so I'm going back to my ironing board, well, in this case my ironing ham, and I'm going to iron everything to smooth everything up, and this is what I have until now. As you can see, the cups are secure in the center seam, but they are loosened in the rest. You can leave it like that, but me being controlling, I like to stitch as well the cups to my bra, and for that I pin them all around, making sure that the material is smooth and nice, and then I just go and top stitch, and I think that gives a much better appearance to my bra. The next step is totally optional. I'm just using that red because I use it with the panties. And I'm just sewing a bias that will go from one side to the other side of the bra, all around. And this is, as I said, just a decoration, but let me tell you that it will give a little bit of the strength too. To do the final top stitch, I'm gonna change my thread for a red, of course, and I'm just going to top stitch all around. Now that I have it, I can go to my last piece, which is the back one, and I'm going to sew both sides. As I said before, make sure that the top part with the top and the bottom with the bottom so you don't get confused. After that is the time for reinforcement, and I'm gonna use this channel wire. I bought this one that is especially for bra. It's because it's a little bit more soft and smooth, so it will be very comfortable. And I'm going to use today just the regular fair weather bonds. I'm gonna smooth out the edges, cutting them round, and then I'm gonna burn a little bit, just that everything is a little bit more comfortable. Although this channel is really smooth, so anyways, it won't be any problem. And then I'm gonna insert my bond, and I will turn to the right side of the material, and I'm going to stitch on top of that so the bonds won't move, and it will look really nice, and that will give an extra support to my bra. And I'm gonna do the same at the other side. And now I'm ready for my last step to finish them. I'm gonna use today an elastic, and I'm gonna make it almost the same size, just around 1.5 inches shorter. You can go 2 inches if you want it a little bit tighter, but I honestly want this one a little bit loose just because I want to use it as well in another way that I will show you at the end. And I think you know the drill. I'm gonna divide my elastic in 4s, and I'm gonna divide my bra as well in 4s. And then I'm gonna use now my domestic sewing machine, and I'm gonna choose for my first stitch the simple zigzag with the length of the stitch and the width in 3, and then I'm gonna sew all the way around in the left side. And then I'm going to my serge, and when I finish, I'm gonna serge all around, and then I'm going back, but this time I will set my machine with the 3-step zigzag with the length of the stitch at 2 and with the maximum width. And then I will fold my material, which looks really nice and good because I finished that very well. And then I'm going to stitch all around. Remember that if you don't have serger, you don't need to serger. You just need to stitch in the other edge as well. That's it. I finished now my first side, and then I'm gonna do the second, and here you go. That's my bra. As you can see, the mannequin is smaller than me. I did my size, and if it's holding the mannequin, it will hold my girls. If you find this video useful, please give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe, share, comment. Bye!